Hey guys, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk Dragon Ball Super, specifically episode 97, a review / impressions type video. It's been a while since I've talked about the Dragon Ball Super episodes, but you know what, I'm pretty excited to be back here, and what better time than to come in when the Tournament of Power officially starts. So episode 97 marks the official start of the tournament, and really one of the most chilling moments for me watching this is when all the contestants pretty much stampede at each other and just start duking it out. By far one of the most exciting sequences, and like one of the a kind of sequence we don't get to see that often in Dragon Ball Super. Just the general chaos of legitimate threats just colliding against each other. It was just pretty good for the energy. But yeah, Dragon Ball Super episode 97, it was largely a fighting episode with a little bit of context being thrown in there for how or not context, rather logistics for how things are going to be working for the Tournament of Power. Some of the little context or logistic pieces being Zeno keeping track of all the characters that are falling down or getting thrown off, and what exactly happens to a character when they are tossed out of the ring, and we find out that they just get transported into the benches. So, you know, pretty good episode for a start of a fight, and also starting up just telling us how the rules are going to be working, what exactly is going to be going down, what's the exact flow, what happens if someone falls off the stage. Now we also have a lot of nice little details popping up in the episode that I really liked, and I'll just point them out. Details like Roshi deciding he's going to take on the women, the fact that Universe 9 is doing relatively well. This makes sense, those characters were established, so to see them actually just have a pretty strong start, worthwhile. You know, the creators are definitely conserving detail here. They're using characters that we kind of already have a baseline for, and just showing us that they are relevant threats, at least in the context of the other universes. So it's just pretty much saying that these guys were legitimately pretty strong. And then another nice little detail being that only a minute passed throughout this whole episode, and that might be the most incredible thing. Will this be for all the episodes? I really doubt it. I can't believe we'd have 47 episodes, for example. That's just crazy. 47 episodes of this? Jesus. But anyway, Dragon Ball Super. So now that we just talked about little details, you know, overall it's a very simple episode. But one thing that I really want to talk about for this episode is just the conservation techniques that the animation studio is putting out to make this episode work. Now, Dragon Ball Super, we know that production-wise, they have limits. Sometimes Dragon Ball Super will not have the best looking scenes. We know this. We've seen this. People have made countless cringe compilations of some sequences in Dragon Ball Super. So going into this arc, I'm actually really curious to see how well the creators are going to be able to maintain overall quality for a lot of these sequences. And seeing this episode, you actually start getting the idea of what they're going to be doing. Because at the end of the day, these guys are on a deadline. They're on a time crunch. Things are going to get complicated, and the more resources they have to throw at this, or actually the lack of resources they have to throw at this, is going to eventually rear its ugly head. Specifically if it comes to animating a lot of really kinetic sequences. So what the studio's doing to kind of balance this out is that they end up using 3 different kind of filler scenes, so to say. These filler scenes ultimately make someone's job much easier. And the 3 kinds I'm talking about, the first variety is the close-up. We had a ton of close-ups in this episode. Now, the close-ups, all they really have to nail is the art quality. Because they're not animating anything, all they really need is a really good-looking face. And thankfully, they deliver on that department. So the close-ups are happening, and you may have noticed that there are a lot of close-ups in this episode. Secondly, the second kind of filler scene I noticed they were using is the talking sequence. Now, the talking sequence is pretty similar to the close-up, except that we're a bit further away from the character that's talking, and this sequence is the one that actually ends up having a bit of quality flubs, and we see it specifically when Beerus is reacting and talking to the other people from his place and just screaming at the team. You can kind of tell. These scenes, because they're taking advantage of the fact that characters are far away, they don't try to be really precise with where they're drawing certain anatomical features for the characters. But when you look at how long these scenes are taking, you know, it ultimately means less work for the animation department when it comes to making these scenes work, or when it comes to building this episode. That's a better thing to say, when it comes to building this episode. Then the third kind of filler scene that they're using is a really sneaky one. It's the looping animation. So if you look at certain fighters, you'll notice that they're repeating the same movements, even though it might be a slightly different scene. So by recycling the animation cycle, you know, you buy yourself a few extra seconds without actually having to put any more work in or having to worry about animating new sequences. And they did this with a few characters. They did it with Goku during one of the Energy Blast sequences, and they also did it with Android 18. You feel free to check those out. Now the reason this is important is because this kind of tells us how Toei's planning to pull this off. Because these are action heavy sequences, it means there's going to be more animation that has to be done, and where there's more animation, it means there's more man hours, or there's more possibility for things running late and sequences having to be compromised. And because we don't really want sequences compromised for such a big arc, you know, it makes sense that they're trying to pull as much free time as they can from these sequences. And ultimately, it ends up doing something really interesting to the episode's pacing, because you have these sequences just strewn about inside of the episode. Sometimes it will see like you get a break from the action to get a character's reaction or a character's talk sequence, or maybe just Zeno's face just commentating that he's having fun. Or in a better example, you'll get one of the looping sequences of someone's fight sequence, and that will kind of maintain energy. But it's just really interesting to see how Toei is going about pulling off these episodes, and this is probably going to be their modus operandi for the rest of the episodes, how they're going to be able to manage their resources and how they're going to be able to plan out these episodes. And after seeing this, like, we're most likely going to be having to sit through a few episodes where the pacing is this awkward, where there's these breaks in between action to have characters talk and fill us in on little details. But you know what? It's Dragon Ball Super. We're going into potentially maybe 20 episodes of fighting. I'm not going to say 47, but maybe 20 episodes of fighting. And if this is what Toei has to do to make sure that they can get those really nice sequences later on in the arc, you know, let them do it. Overall, that Dragon Ball Super episode 97, really exciting. I'm excited to see you next week. The preview looks pretty lit. Guys, let me know what you thought down below. This was a very quick video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, I hope you have a great day.